Okay guys, so what we're going to do right now is do a detailed but quick tutorial on how to connect your RGB LED strips to a power supply using the LED connectors and a controller. In this case I'm using a 3-button inline controller, okay? So let's get started. We use these a lot in many of our tutorials, so we thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and do a very detailed one. What you want to look at when you're looking at these RGB LED strips, and almost all of them are the same way, you're going to have 3 bulbs and then what we call a cut point, which is just a set of copper leads that are backed up to one another, okay? Everywhere you see this, you can cut these bulbs and they'll continue to work. If you try to cut anywhere else, they're not going to work, all right? Then you're going to go, cut point, 1, 2, 3 bulbs, cut point, 1, 2, 3, all right? So this is actually the end of a long reel of one of our 5 meters. I'm coming down to the end of it, so I'm just going to leave it all attached. If Jason will zoom in for me really quickly. What you're going to see right here, you have these, again, your 4 copper leads on your LED strip that are going to go inside of your LED connector. But what you want to pay attention to when you're doing this is that it's not just the leads you need to strip and expose. You actually need to back up pretty much past the RGB labels here, because this strip is going to sit inside the box right about there. So it's almost to this black line. And the reason you want to go all the way back is because if you don't, and then you have a little extra silicone here and you put it in, you close the cap, it's actually going to push your LEDs out. So let's go ahead and really quickly do this. We're just going to go right back to that black line like we said. I've got a brand new X-Acto blade on here, so it should cut through nicely. And don't throw away this silicone, because this comes in really handy later. Sometimes these boxes, they're not very well made, and they don't have enough tension on them to make good connections. And what we can do is take the silicone, stick it inside there, just a piece of it. It'll help us actually get this thing to turn on. Okay, so now we've got our LEDs exposed. What you want to do is just go ahead and take it, and you'll see right inside this box. Jason, you got that on frame? Right inside this box, there are actually a couple of little ridges. You want to slip underneath that. That's going to help hold it in place. So we're going to also, on the back of this, go ahead now and peel back your adhesive tape. This will help secure it in place and make it easier to work with later when we're doing other things, and I cannot do that. So there's the adhesive tape on the back, so peel the protective stuff just a little ways, like so. And then we're going to slide it in. It'll be a little bit hard to do because now it's tacky. I want to get it right underneath, just like so. And then one of the things I like to do always with these is go with my X-Acto and press down on the leads here to make sure that they're actually making good connection. Okay? Let's assume for a moment that that's done correctly. Now what you want to do is take the 4-pin end of this and plug it into the female end of your controller. And I typically just start in the upward direction. This sometimes changes though, guys. Sometimes it's reversed depending on what end of your LED strip you're coming from. So if I'm coming, say this is the right side of the strip, the 12-volt supply is closest to me. But if I were coming from the opposite side, I would reverse our LED connector. Its 12-volt supply would now be on that side. And you really can't do anything about that until you get to the connector, because then all you have to do here is reverse. Okay, so you've got these little arrows that tell you how to line them up. That doesn't always work, is all I'm saying. Don't be frustrated. Don't think I'm silly when I say, oh, not working, flip it around. Okay, so we've got our LEDs connected. We've got our, Jason, can you zoom out? Our work's in frame right now.
It's on frame.
Everything's in frame? Okay. Sorry guys, just want to make sure I'm getting all of this. Like I said, I use this 12-volt battery. We're going to plug it in, make sure our battery is on. Now we're going to press a button, see if anything happens. Nothing happens. So we'll flip our controller. Bingo bango. It works perfectly. Now, one thing you want to do is put it on a mode and let it cycle through. It doesn't really matter what mode it's on. The reason is it's actually routing power to each of the 3 colored bulbs. There's actually diodes in there. There's 3 different colored diodes. And if any of these connections are not connecting well, when it's on a mode cycling through, you'll be able to quickly identify it. So the red, green, and blue is not lighting up. And in this case, they're all working. We're good to go. So now that we're done with that, we'll go ahead and turn the battery off. We'll disconnect our connector. We don't need that anymore. We're going to close our box. Actually, for the sake of being sure, let's go ahead and test it again. Yep, make sure it's still on while we're doing this. And then a lot of times I'll use a clear silicone. This time I'm going to use white so it matches our box. But we're going to use the silicone to waterproof our LEDs, because as soon as we remove that silicone, that was what was waterproofing these bad guys for us. So we need to replace that now. This will also help secure our connector and keep it from sliding off later. So I'm just using 100% silicone for window and siding stuff. Doesn't really matter. Most silicone that you would buy at the store is going to be somewhat waterproof. And the nice thing too is these are really, really low voltage. So even if it's not completely waterproofed and it starts to quote unquote short out, it's not going to cause any real damage. You might blow out a bulb or something, but it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt your hookah or any other application. I know this is not the prettiest thing you've ever seen, but that's okay. We're not worried about that. We're just trying to seal some of these edges up. And these aren't going to be in water, but hookah sweat. You know, especially if you're using ice. Like I'm addicted to it. I won't smoke a hookah without ice. So we'll just do that, make sure it looks good everywhere. And then I just like to leave it just like this, right there. And then I got a fan over here. You don't need to see that. That helps dry it. And that's it. We've successfully connected our RGB LEDs. The next thing you'd want to do is, if you're measuring a length, go to your next cut point, cut it, and then take a little more silicone and seal that end. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Radio 10.